96.1 FM Abuja.
Take a break from the norm. Let's face life issues head on. From alcoholism to obesity, entertainment and lifestyle. Everything that matters on Matters. Mondays to Fridays, 12 to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Abuja. Because your voice matters.
Matters begins now. The matters that concern you, the matters that concern me. Like I always say, if it concerns a Nigerian, it concerns the country Nigeria, because that is what it is. Welcome to a brand new episode on Matters. Today is the 15th day in the month of June 2023. Now, Matters is a program that has 3 different segments. We discuss on Matters first, political issues that affect us, and we try to find balance and understanding. We do that for between 12:15 and, of course, we do that between 12:15 and 1 p.m. And between 1 and 2, we talk about your general welfare, your wellness, your health, your mental health state, and all of that. And in the streets, we discuss entertainment issues, and we keep you abreast. As you can see, we are doing our best to make sure you are grounded, however it is, wherever it comes from. My name is Chinwe Blessing. Thank you for joining us on Matters. Don't forget, you can find more information about the radio station Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja on our website www.abuja.voiceofthepeople.ng. You can also reach out social media. Yeah, you can check us out on Twitter at VOP961. That is at VOP961. On Instagram, the same, at VOP961. Now, every episode that goes live on radio goes live on YouTube. You want to go back, look at the issues, listen to them, and stream live. You could check us out at Voice of the People, 96.1 FM, Abuja. Let us now get into World Rounds as soon as we can, which is right now, actually. Stay with us. Well, within the last week, we had a very very shocking statement that was made by a lawmaker. And we want to know, a lawmaker in the chambers, I'm talking about a senator, and, he said what he said. Of course, we had a situation that was sounding like off your mic. We've had that situation before. But then the truth had come out. Nigerians had heard it. A lot of Nigerians were like, what is going on? If you're wondering what the situation is, I'm just going to quickly play a sound bite. Let's hear it as it happened, and we'll come back and we'll look at it and have a conversation about it. Take a listen.
At my age, I don't think I would lobby anybody under the sun. I would do the right thing, and I always do the right thing, and sincerely and honestly too. So, I look at faces in this chamber who have come to me and sought for my help when my wife was the president of the Court of Appeal. And I'm sure Mr. Senator Adam Ahmed Mukacho, I think I would advise that you just round up and take your seat. Many names. We know ourselves. I must say that, okay, to round up, since that's what you want me to do, I will do that. And I must thank particularly my wife, whose freedom and independence I encroached upon while she was in office. And she has been very tolerant
and accepted my encroachment and extended her help to my colleagues.
Distinguished, please, I don't think this is a good idea going this direction. It's not a good idea.
Well, that was the conversation. We've all heard it. Whether or not it was believed to be a good idea, it had come out. In case you're wondering whose voice that was the voice of Senator Bal Kutwa. Let's have a conversation about this. Who was he talking about? If we want to look at it, he was talking about a woman who is his wife. Now, I'm just going to quickly tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get into the conversation proper. She was born in 1950, and she started as a state of the High Court of Bauchi State. In 1998, she was elevated to the Court of Appeal. Now, her name, she's fondly known as Justice Balkachua, and her tenure as the president of the Court of Appeal was marked by her notable contributions to the resolution of high-profile cases, particularly in electoral matters. She had a distinguished career in the Nigerian judiciary. Her integrity, professionalism, and dedication to the judiciary had earned her widespread respect and admiration. Throughout her career, she was seen by most as a trailblazer for women in the Nigerian legal profession, being that she was the first female president of the Court of Appeal. Now, she retired from the bench March 2020 because she reached the mandatory retirement age of 70. And all these good things I just read was what Nigerians thought about this woman until her husband decided to appreciate her in a way, and say that he encroached on her, work ethic, and asked her to do favors for his colleagues in cases. To discuss this, so that I'm not the only person feeling your ears, let's talk. We're going to have a conversation with Adefolarin Olamilekon. He's a political economist, a development analyst, and a columnist. And also we have Barrister Emmanuel Ikwe, who is an Abuja-based legal practitioner. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me in the house. Absolutely, it's completely my pleasure. So let's hit the ground running, like I always say, because I don't think we have any time to spare. How this has happened? It's been about 4 days now since this came out. How is what are your thoughts? First, let's start with your personal thoughts, and then we get into professionalism and all of that.
Should I start first?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Start first.
If from what I'm hearing, which I already listened to audio voice before, the first thing that came to my mind was that man drunk? Was he drunk? Because he was sluggish in his statement, the way he pronounced words, the way he opened his mouth. He was quite like someone that intoxicated with something. Because ordinarily, not at that particular platform will such a person expose such a very sensitive issues. But as we normally say in local parlance, now God catch them. You understand that kind of thing? Now God catch them. So maybe there was nemesis on him that he just have to voice out such a sensitive and very, very illegal action on the part of him and his wife.
Okay, let's go to you,
yes,
Barrister.
When I heard that statement, I didn't believe it at first. But when I got done meditating over it, I saw him as a man who is timid, a man who is myopic. Because how would you go to the floor of the house and make that kind of comment? It's unacceptable. It's demeaning. That means your wife went beyond or below what she was supposed to do in the discharge of her duties as president of the Court of Appeal. Remember that when before you're sworn in as the president or even a justice of any court for that matter, you have to take an oath. That means the wife went outside the oath she took in office. But because you said let's give our personal thought, let me stop here. Then when we get into the conversation proper, I'll tell you how I feel about this whole thing.
Okay, and I want to get into the conversation proper right now. So beginning, let's talk about how the judiciary is taking this information. How are they? What is the judiciary doing at the moment? We haven't seen any official thing, so we want to know on the inside what is going on.
Yesterday, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association released a statement to that effect, calling on ICPC and of course the Inspector General of Police to immediately investigate and prosecute Senator Bukachua, for that statement credited to him. And I think that action would put the judiciary on a better pedestal, because if you look very carefully, you will see that judiciary has over time been tainted with black statements here and there, with confidence on it dwindling to the lowest ebb. Even at the international community, people no longer take us seriously, because they believe that our judiciary is a place for black market buying and selling. That is unacceptable to most of us who are players in the judicial landscape. And when we see things like this, honestly, I tell you, some of us feel we never studied law. Because imagine you studying law in a lawless society. That's an irony. Spend how many years? 7 years in a hole, and when you come out, you're seeing a different thing. While we were in law school, we never knew that this kind of thing can happen. We were there studying to see that when we come out, we will promote human rights and justice will be seen. But that's not what we're seeing today.
I mean, that brings me to one of the questions I had initially prepared, because there are youngins that are studying this. This woman has done a lot. There are several high-profile cases she has dealt with. These things have been documented. From the little I know about law, these cases can even be used, not just by students who are studying it. They can even be used in other matters. Somebody can.
That's as precedent.
As precedent. Thank you very much. That's the word I was looking for. How does this affect, in general, the law of the land? Because now this was a president of a court of appeal. Students are going to come to study cases that she has presided over. Besides that, people will be tempted to go back and use cases that she has handled as precedents. How does that affect us? Where do we go to from here? Are we going to go back and start checking all the cases that has been presided over? What is the next move?
I think if I'm permitted to answer that, if
Sure.
you look at it from the angle of, in retrospect, over the years we have been having issue with our judiciary, especially stakeholders and actors in the judiciary. I mean, just like what Ima said, they have been painted black, they have been painted with different color in terms of how they interpret the law and how they adjudicate the law and how they administer the law at the end of the day, in terms of the kind of judgment, the kind of rulings that come out from them, which most people have considered to be black market, and they even call it a Jankara judgment, in a sense that it is the highest bidder that gets the judgment, in a sense. Now, in retrospect, historically, if we go back to Court of Appeal issue, I remember Justice Salami and I remember former CJ and then Kassina Alu. They also have issues in a sense that it has to do with electoral issues, to the point that Justice Salami stood a ground that he doesn't want promotion from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. It became a national issue that many people dived into in trying as much as possible to absolve themselves to settle the matter. And now, such cases and such happening continue in that trend, to the point that in 2015-2016 there was a raid in houses of judges, and a lot of money was discovered in their houses, to pinpoint that judges in Nigeria have been corrupted. Now, look at what have just been exposed by the husband of retired Justice Zainab Bukachau. Her husband is Senator Mohammed Bukachau, explaining how his wife was influenced to carry out a ruling that was in favor of the senator's senator's friends in the chamber. Now, a lot of people are calling for a review of some of those rulings as we speak right now, because I also read the NBA statement that Ima is making reference to. A lot of people who read that statement are now saying, okay, what is the next step? The next step is not just to arrest and prosecute them, but the judgment that she made, the ruling that she made, that favors some selected senators who serve with her husband in the Ninth Assembly should be reviewed. And you ask a question. Now we're having young people who are going to be studying that same proceedings in study law. What would they do with such, outing? What would they say about with such outing? What kind of reference would that make out of such outing? So for me, it's not just arresting them, it's not just prosecuting them, but trying as much as possible to make sure that we repair and reform our justice system, and not just the paperwork in the justice system, including individuals who we appoint as judges in the higher chamber of our law sector.
All right, then thank you very much. I would want to ask, but before I go ahead and do that, you listening to us right now, you can join the conversation. Drop a comment on WhatsApp, drop a message on WhatsApp on 0700-010-961-961. I'd call the number again, 0700-010-961-961. Just to explain the zeros, because lately I've been accused of calling it wrongly. It is 07 000 then 10-961-961. You can also tweet at us at VOP961, on Instagram at VOP961. Plus, you could catch the live broadcast on YouTube right now. It is at Voice of the People, 96.1 FM, Abuja. The next question I want to ask is, this lady has been, prior to now, right, she's been accused of this kind of situations before now, right, and she has outrightly denied most of the accusations. She's like, oh no, I didn't do these things. And now this has come out. Is there a stand that, I understand that the NBA have of course dropped a statement, but what is the Court of Appeal doing to ensure that they regain the trust of Nigerians? Because some people are some people are taking the stand that, or some legal practitioners, actually some SANs I have listened to who have said a few things about this, would say, oh, this is not an embarrassment on the legal system. It's an embarrassment on her family and herself and her reputation. But then a lot of Nigerians, just like you rightly said, Barrister, a lot of Nigerians had before now thought, well, the legal system is up for the highest bidder. We can't trust it. And now we have this situation outrightly coming out to, in a way, confirm the fears of Nigerians. What is the Court of Appeal stand? What are they doing? What can they do to get Nigerians to trust the system again?
Well, it's not even about the Court of Appeal. It's about the NJC that is saddled with the responsibility of guarding the judicial arm of government. So the Court of Appeal has little or nothing to do. And let me say something here again. Now, we are talking Court of Appeal, talking about the judgment rendered by Justice Zainab Bukachua while she held sway as the president of the Court of Appeal. Remember that some of these judgments, some of these verdicts did not stop there. Some of this verdict ended at the numero uno court, being the Supreme Court. Now, if the Supreme Court upheld the judgment emanating from the Court of Appeal, what happens? That is to say, there is conspiracy. This parley between Justice Zainab Bukachua of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. It is not strange to us at all, because over time, even before now, we had alleged that there is corruption in the system. That there is corruption not just at the Court of Appeal, but even at the lowest court. Go to customary court, you see what happens there. Go to State High Court, Federal High Court, Supreme Court. So they are all corrupt. And like I also always tell my friends, please, whenever you want to protest, just pass my house, please. You know where to channel your anger to, because we will keep speaking. And when we speak, some of our colleagues say, why are you speaking ill about the profession? Why are you doing this? No, we'll always say it. Because corruption has eaten deep, and this corruption is everywhere. It's not just within the judiciary. Remember that these justices, these lawyers, are not from the moon. We are all Nigerians, and corruption has eaten deep into the fabrics of this country. I went to AYA the other day just to buy granules. And do you know what this woman did? After negotiating with her, she put the first cup, put the second cup. On trying to put the third cup, I looked at it. I saw that the cup was manipulated. And I was like, madam, what is this? He said, my pikin, no worry, I go put jara for you. I said, no, it's not about the jara. You are here criticizing President Muhammadu Buhari. Now in your own little office, look at the corruption. At that point, I collected my money. So that is to tell you that corruption has eaten deep. And I do not know how we can repair this. Even if we investigate Senator Bukachua today, I do not think that will stop anything. It will only make these corrupt persons to be more careful with what they do. You understand?
Would that be insinuating that there is no way out of the corrupt system, that the corruption of the judiciary?
It has to be all encompassing. It's not just about the judiciary.
But now eyes are on the judiciary.
Eyes are on the judiciary
because of the situation.
But that will not stop anything. I'm telling you, it can't stop anything. Now look at what is happening at the Presidential Election Petition Court. You will be surprised at the kind of judgment that will come out from that court. So judiciary, but all round.
I'm really curious to know what you're thinking.
I think I understand where Ima is coming from.
Yeah.
We need to look at it away from not just the judiciary alone. It's an encompassing situation, challenges to all that. The fiber of our society has been eaten up by corruption. And what Ima is trying to point out, in as much as we are focusing on the judges, I give you a simple scenario. Now, there's a case of armed robber in an area. Now, the person that was caught, or a suspect that was caught, was a son of a popular individual in that particular area. What do you think will happen by the time the court case gets to the judge? The parent of such individual will be praying that the judges should make amends and give a softer, judgment. Either if it is something that requires a death sentence, they may be looking out for a life sentence. If it's something that requires life sentence, they may be looking for some moderate years of sentences. Now, for them to get that, they will look for opportunities to get to the judge. And these are judges that we have complained that they are not well taken care of. They lack motivation to work. Some of them are still writing in long hands. That's what I mean, long hands to write. Some of them don't have assistant to even help them on some of the things they are doing. Some of the offices of the judges are lacking electricity. There is no AC like the one we have in your studio. They are not comfortable. They are not well paid. Even if they are well paid, the economic inflation is eating up whatever we are giving to them.
Now it sounds to me like we're making excuses for corruption. Because
no. We are not making excuses for corruption. What he's saying, for us to really focus on corruption, we should not just isolate the judiciary alone. We should look at it from the entire society. He has painted the picture of a groundnut seller. I've made mention of someone that is a son of a big man in the society, that will be looking for opportunity that they will not kill his son, or they will not sentence him for a long time.
With that instance, there is provision. The law makes provision for you to actually fight your case.
Exactly.
You can, if you get a proper lawyer, you can actually you can get the lower what do they call it? Help me out.
Sentences lower sentences for the person.
Exactly. You can always.
Definitely, but we know what we are pointing out from what me and the man is trying to point out there. In as much as we have the law to help you to strengthen your argument in the court cases, you are not too sure whether the judge will do what you want. So they will look for opportunity to bypass whatever the law say and to influence the judge in one way or the other, either through gift or through whatever. And that's what is happening. That's why he's pointing out that the corruption in the judiciary has come as a result of the negligence and the delicate issues that we have in our society. And
when I was in the university, my criminal law lecturer, I will not mention his name, he told me something.
Would you mention the university?
Let's forget about the university. Let me tell you what he said. Now, he said he had a case before a court, and upon the beautiful argument he rendered before the court, nothing happened. He argued this way, he argued that way. The judge was just looking at him. He lost that case. It was when the judge retired that the judge told him that they were in the joint, just drinking. I don't know whether it was alcoholic drink or something, but they were drinking something. So he was like, oh God, what happened that time? The retired judge started laughing at him, that he didn't know that they had cleared the bush. He spoke in Igbo language. You were just arguing up, arguing down. So that is the case. When a judge has been compromised, no matter how brilliant your argument sounds, I'm telling you, you are going to lose that case.
On that point that you have made, we do not have any dispute. Where I'm finding it difficult to understand is what can be done, because now there is a very bold accusation
Yes.
against someone as high, someone that sat on a position as high as the president of the Court of Appeal. This is no joke.
Now, in the immediate,
What can be done? Is she going to be probed?
in the immediate,
Are her case is going to be pulled out? How are we going to look at this situation? Because we can't just say, oh, yes, we know the corruption is there. Of course, we know the
No.
corruption is there.
Definitely.
What is going to be done?
in the immediate, some persons have called for the investigation and prosecution of just the husband. But I'm thinking aloud, why should we excuse the wife?
Exactly.
You should also investigate Justice Bukachua. Prosecute her if necessary. Pull out all the cases she handled while she married, because I don't know when they got married. From the date she got married to her husband, look out all the cases she handled at the time and review all of these cases, because those cases, human beings were involved and their rights trampled upon. You understand? So by the time you do that, you find a way to prosecute her for her ills, and that's what could be done in developed climes. Nobody will even tell them to do that. On their own, they will do it naturally. They shouldn't wait for us to call on them to do the needful. That's what they should do. Nobody should excuse the woman at all.
Absolutely. A lot of Nigerians have been having conversations before now. I think the last time I heard a very active conversation about this was about 2 months ago, just before we transitioned into a new administration, and we all know how that has taken away the attention of a lot of people. But just before then, a lot of people were talking about a reform in the Nigerian legal system. What are your thoughts towards that before we now take comments from our listeners?
We've had several reforms, and I tell you, those reforms just end up as white paper. And like I tell you, corruption is in depth. You may not know the indebtedness of this corruption, the level of this corruption, but I tell you, it's everywhere. If I sit here, I can tell you that I don't know how we can get out of it. That's to tell you that we should be expecting tsunami so soon, because the judiciary should be the gatekeeper of the progress of this country. Remember that way back, especially when I was in secondary school, I used to see judiciary as the last hope of the common man. In fact, we made a song with it even. But now, can you say that? Can the tomato seller have confidence in the judiciary? Go to motor parks and hear what the commoners say about this country. At the international community, what do they think about this country?
I still refuse to agree that there's no way out of the problem.
No.
It can never, it's that deep.
Now,
It can never be that bad.
now you said way out.
Oh, I could, but I'm in
No,
the place of
no,
asking the
say
question.
the
I'm
way
not
out.
in the place of
Let me intervene
providing
here. In
solutions.
terms of way out, there are several ways that are being called for. One of them is just the question you asked earlier, reform. But our reform has concentrated on three things in the judiciary. Let me just use the judiciary. Our reform has concentrated on one, welfare of the judicial workers has been one of the key things about reform. Two, how our judges have in terms of their ethics. It's also part of the reform that was being put in place. But the problem is that there is no political will to ensure that the ethics of judges, when it comes to them administering judgment or justice, has not been quite very on the high side, in the sense that they have not implemented it to the point that political will to ensure that these things that these judges are doing are right, because the same people who appoint them will come against their ethics, just like what has happened to Zenob Bukachau, because people who appointed her in that position are the same people who came to her husband to influence her, and she did what she did. Then the third thing that our reform has concentrated more is that just establishing court here and there. That has been our reform. But the way out is this: can we have a stringent law against offenders who have been found culprit of a particular issue? We don't have stringent law. Even though the law that we have that is stringent, we find a way of technicality, like my friend Ima will go and do at the court. When the court, a case move from High Court to Supreme Court, to Court of Appeal.
So you mean I'm a technical lawyer?
no, I'm just giving an example. Now, when a case move from High Court to Court of Appeal, if even ordinary spelling can make your case to be dismissed and the person will just go free. Just take out all the corrupt cases that EFCs have been taken to court. Even though we know that EFCs has been so ineffective in taking their case and making sure that it is well adjudicated for, but we know that simple technicality can throw away a beautiful case that would have put someone behind bars for many years, but we don't have that done.
That will bring me, I mean, if we're this whole, if we're feeling, if members of the judiciary itself are feeling this reckless about it, a lot of Nigerians are asking this question. And when I say a lot, I mean quite a number, because I've seen this question pop up on virtually every platform that this subject has been discussed. Would we have to now say we are going to the extreme length of stopping spouses or politicians or lawmakers from being judges?
No, that cannot work. It can't work at all, because it's your right to aspire for any position.
But then now we know that you are not. People would say
this kind of thing can happen. Okay, if Senator Bukachua was to be in the shoes of Zainab Bukachua, you understand, the wife could still influence him. Say, honey, please, this is my friend. Can you do this?
I'm very tempted to play the gender card here, but let me quickly. I am tempted to do that, but let me quickly take some of the comments we have from the people. Don't forget, if you want to join the conversation, you can. Okay, we have a WhatsApp platform and we do have a phone number. Actually, you can call in the studio. I'm just being very partial when I say WhatsApp more. The number you can reach us on, whether via WhatsApp or via phone call in the studio, is 0700 010 961 961. I'll call the number again, 0700 010 961 961. Precious doesn't tell us where she's from, but she's asking, how can someone trust the judiciary with what we've witnessed with Imo State election, where the court declared the candidate that finished fourth during the election as winner? That's one question. Do you want to attempt answering that one now?
I was in court when that verdict was delivered. In fact, shivers went through my spine. And up until today, I'm still thinking about it. I met one of the justices, that's Justice Rudvivers, and I had the opportunity of meeting with him on a different issue. Then I thought to myself, let me even bring up this issue. When I brought it up, you need to see the rage. It was like, you people don't understand how these things work. He wasn't the one that wrote that judgment. You people don't understand how these things work. That how can they criticize that sound judgment and all of that? Let me tell you in confidence, some of these justices, what they do is to write two judgments. For the highest bidder, if you got the money, pay. They write for and against. So who pays more, gets the verdict. And that's what we are saying today, that this has to stop. The way and manner we appoint our justices has to be looked into. If I'm qualified to take up the position of a judge today, and I do not have a politician standing behind me, I can assure you that I won't get it.
Even if you get it, if you get it at magistrate level, you end up.
So you just end there. So the way I'm managing, if it's the politicians that are in charge, imagine with all my qualification, I will go and kneel before one politician to say, sir, please, I apply for the position of judge or magistrate. Please, can you support my application? And now when that person helps you to get that position, the person becomes your godfather. And when he tells you to do A or B, won't you do it? So that's why I maintain that the solution is so wide that I don't know where we can start from.
I mean, if it's wide, it means there's a solution, and then we can start to pick and look at it critically, because I mean, Nigerians are at a place. I'm going to say this and go back to the comments that we do have, so we do not, completely ignore our audience. We're at a place right now where Nigerians, more than has ever been seen, I don't think it has ever been seen, Nigerians are very interested in the matters that concern the nation. Exactly. Nigerians have become very interested in politics. We saw what happened during the last election. Nigerians have become very interested in what happens with legislature, with the judiciary. They have become very involved. Now that we can see that people are interested, at least we can say that the first step has been taken towards changing Nigeria, reforming the entire system of the country, and moving forward as a people. We've hit rock bottom, and it's very common for people to say, it's very common with humans generally, when you see human beings, when they hit rock bottom, that's when they start to make a change. Exactly. They are push, your back is against the wall, you got to push back, and it's very safe to say that Nigerians are at that spot right now. So if we can start to look at, we know that these are the issues, we need to start taking a firm stand and figuring out a way out of it. We have this from Martins. Martins sends it from Lube. Martin says, we keep hearing about the independence of the judiciary all the time. But how independent is the judiciary when it is the executive that appoints the judges? How can someone appoint someone and you expect the appointee not to favor the person that appoints it?
Definitely, on paper, the judiciary is independent. They draw their fund from the consolidated federal allocation. That means first line charge. Any money that comes to the federal government, the judiciary collect their own without any hindrance. It shows their independence on paper. Now, where they have issue of independence is the political will that from the federal government to allow them, or the state executive to allow them to do their work freely, because as the writer said, they are appointed by the same political class. And that's why I saw it right up and say our political gladiators or our elite governance must allow the judiciary to do their work freely, as independent as they are on paper, to be independent practically. Although they are independent in certain areas, but they are not independent in certain areas. If a case come up between you and an elite governance, someone that is very popular in Nigeria, a person in authority, definitely that case will never go in your favor. But if it is between poor man and poor man, definitely it will be between the poor that the judge will always make the ruling in a way that the person that is supposed to be punished will be punished. A case in point is this: if a poor man steals within the community of the poor and the matter go to court, maybe from magistrate, from customary, you see them giving them every fine or giving them every sentences. But let that same matter of a poor man or a rich man go through that same customary court or through that same magistrate court, you see then they will ask for a big bail, 10 million with 2 shorties in house in Asokoro or Mitama. But if it's a poor man, that poor man will never get such a light sentences, and that's how it is. So the independence of the judiciary is on paper, but in reality it is never seen.
I'm very tempted to ask the question how we get out of it again, but let me go on with, like I always say, if you're sending us a message on WhatsApp, it will be very, very fair if you tell us your name and where it is you're sending it from, just so that we know who you are. This person doesn't say. He says, my question is in relation to the Presidential Election Tribunal. Why can't the judiciary expedite the process and conclude it before the swearing in of the president? Because someone can assume the president, as head of the executive, can interfere with the judicial process or the judiciary altogether. I mean,
yes,
we've seen what we've seen.
That's what most of us said. Before the swearing in of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, some of us came out to say, no, why not look at, although constitutionally we have 180 days to determine the matter at the presidential election petition court. But we said, okay, why not look at some of these issues distinctly, like the issue of 25% in Abuja. Look at it, for instance. If that scales to, then you also look at other issues. Just look at it one by one to ensure that you do not swear in the wrong person that will go ahead to interfere with the judicial process. But they disagreed. Now, on the other side, we said, why not transmit these proceedings live? If you say you are being transparent, if you say there won't be technicality, because that was what the chairman of the panel assured Nigeria, that this time around there won't be technicalities. Okay, why not transmit it live? He came up to say no, that there is no legal framework to transmitting election proceedings. Now, where did you derive your powers to transmit the judgment of the proceedings live? Because last time the judgment was transmitted live. So where did the court get its powers to do that? And this judgment, if care is not taken, they are going to transmit it live. So you can see that the judiciary is its own problem too before the external forces.
I want to take the last question, as much as we're running out of time very much. I'm just going to quickly, do this. Looking at all the scandals or speculation surrounding the judiciary in the past few years, the Imo State governorship election situation in which the judge was a woman married to an active APC member, the one you all are discussing at the moment now, and only just recently we have a president of the Federal High Court, Binta Nyako, who is married to a sitting governor in the person of Governor Murtala Nyako. is it safe to say we can't trust women to hold key judicial positions, considering that they can be influenced by their husbands?
Actually, we can trust.
Sorry, this is from I think he said, okay, this is from Francis. Francis is in Asokoro.
First and foremost, we can trust women to hold high position, especially becoming Court of Appeal President, becoming even CJN, even become the Chief Justice of Nigeria. That is very clear. Then we let us also correct in one impression. Justice Nyako was never President of Court of Appeal. She was never at that point, but she was a High Court judge. Then I think she take care of a particular case that made her so popular, was the Nnamdi Kanu case that made her so popular in the judicial environment of Nigeria. Then again, just like Ima said, which I'll use as part of my running up discussion now, is that the judiciary as it stands today in Nigeria, they have its own problem. It is not just the judges, including the lawyers. No, when Ima was talking about the tribunal that is going on now we are talking about 180 days. Why can't we reduce it to 100 and something days? We can see the laxity around what the lawyers are doing in the court. Even if we give them 50 days, is this how they will still be bringing issues, trying to waste the time of the court? Because they also have to work on themselves. Damn, the lawyer, we are talking about the judges now. The lawyer also have a problem of their own, which at the end of the day compound the issues around our judges. So I want to advise, in as much as we are pointing our accusing finger at the judges, we already know that the forefinger is going back to the lawyer. So the lawyer also need to be reformed, need to change the orientation, and see how we can make Nigerian judiciary more transparent and more independent.
This has been a very interesting episode. I wish we had more time. Honestly, I don't think I've ever wished I had more time on this particular segment as I do right now. Thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you very much, Adefolari.
My pleasure.
Please, are you in 1 minute each? Just tell us what your closing is on this, so we can move.
Well, a lot has been said because of our time. Let me just say that all hands must be on deck to ensure that the judiciary works. If the judiciary works, other sectors of the country will work, and Nigeria will be a better place for all of us to live, and the international community will envy the progress in this country. Thank you.
For me, the judiciary is still the last hope of the common man. We just need to put all our hands on deck, because one thing we must know, and one thing we must fight for is that whoever is going to be appointed into the judiciary sector will be somebody who will stand right till the end and for the betterment of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being in the studio with us. This has been so much. This has been a lot. Thank you very much. I do hope that you've learned one thing or two. Matters continues very shortly with Formula U. Today we are going to be looking at harnessing the power of your mind, and how you could use that as the most effective tool to transforming your life. Our guest will soon be in the studio, and of course we're going to get into it. For now, let's take a very quick breather, pay some bills. We'll be right back.
With delicious juicy toppings. Remember that true happiness comes at special moments, and sometimes you don't wait for it, you simply ask for it. Ask for Romeo's Pizza. It comes in different toppings with delicious fillings you can resist. Have a pizza for meal with Romeo's Pizza. Every bite is nice, every slice brings a smile that helps you come alive.